Be good. Be very good.
Hey guys, it's me, Yaya. Okay, so I have been trying to get Mr. Ralph Bowers on the show for a minute. We did an entire interview and it didn't even record. We're going to go ahead and do this again because, as me being the person that I am, we have got to get his book on this show. Okay. He himself has to be on this show. We have a storytelling time that we have to tell, and I need you guys to pay attention. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is Yaya Diamond, and we are in on Dream Chasers Radio, and we have our guest, Mr. Bowers. He is here today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Yeah,
I can hear you.
yeah. I have a voice.
You do. So tell me, how, and I don't even have a mic stand for this because we just rigged this whole thing. We just rigged it, okay? How did you know you were going to write this book?
Hmm, that's a really good question. Probably at about 16 years of age, um, I realized that I wasn't a fiction person, that my life could be a fiction or a biography, but that poetry was very condensed and just a vehicle that I felt could express my heart.
Hmm.
And that
Wow.
was when I decided, 16,
At
that I was going to be
16.
a poet.
How
Going to be
long
a poet.
how long did it take you to actually publish this then?
Oh, so I published this last year. So,
Wow.
in really quite some time. And I wouldn't have published it actually, but my daughter continually encouraged me, and she brought some of her friends over one day, and one of them's name is Adie Bell. She's a noted individual in the music industry,
Hmm.
and she said, "Mr. Bowers, these are really pretty good. You should offer them to the world." And I
Nice.
said, "Well, maybe I will."
Oh my gosh. Wow. You know, being a poet, going into things and the book, I have to show people the book. So consorting the muse in her upstairs office. Tell me about this title.
Okay. The muse of poetry is when I studied Joseph Campbell. There was a vehicle, there was a way, there was a ladder to arrive at an audience with the muse that the ancients had used, and so I utilized that myself.
Hmm.
Um, then I had the consorting the muse. I had that. That was that. I figured that was good, so I started a little bit of writing. Um, then one day I was taking a young man to a therapy session in Asheville, North Carolina, and we were going up some steps, and I said, "Consorting the muse in her upstairs office. This is perfect." And that's what I titled it before I
Wow.
ever wrote it. So it's interesting that the title came first, because in my experience in my poems, my titles always come the last line of the poem, and then I turn that into the title, and then I write the poem. But anyway,
Wow. I mean, you have just like this decisive thing that this is what I'm going to do.
absolutely.
Sometimes it takes a while for us to understand what we're supposed to do, and it takes a minute for us to get it. But why love? I mean, why did you write about love? Why was
Okay.
love on your mind at such a
Good
young
question.
age?
When I was reborn at 27 years of age, I went back to school, Lyndon State College in Vermont, magnificent facility with magnificent educators. Um, I I gave myself to God and was reborn. And Yaya, for 5 years, my feet didn't touch the ground. And then one day he put me back on my feet after 5 years, and I almost died. I said, "Oh, you got to be kidding me."
Hmm.
He said, "Son, you have this. You've got this now." And so I forget what your question was, Yaya. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Why love?
Yeah. Why love? Oh, yeah. Okay. So getting back to that. So my father said to me, because at Lyndon State College, I did really, really well, had an opportunity to go to Harvard, full scholarship. I wasn't able to take that because of family obligations. So my father said to me, "Son, what will you teach?" And I had to think about it. taken with the notion to love you with the sweetest of devotion.
Mm-hmm.
It came to me at 27 years of age that every love song that human beings sang to one another was originally sang by God to human beings.
Mm.
So any love that we share is God's love. And so it's perfect because it's not my love. It's a love that he can give me to share. And if I go about it the right way, the results that God.
Wow. Wow. I was going over everything and the sexuality as well. I mean, what about
Yes, ma'am.
sexuality? I mean, you're saying that,
Well,
you
let me
know,
say this about it, okay? I want to talk about that. God's love is love, and I would imagine that it's not sexual, although with Mary it was because a child was produced from it.
mm,
But for me, on the moral side of things, sexuality is probably one of the greatest gifts that God gave mankind because of the emotional and psychological effects,
mm,
positive effects, that it can have for the human being. It
mm.
also can be terribly misused.
Oh, yeah.
So for me, spiritually, the man-woman thing is really, it's God coming to me, coming to her, because I'm a heterosexual, and then we share God's love with one another.
Mm,
And so for me, as a poet, writing is a mystical experience.
mm,
And so I went to St. John of the Cross. He's the doctor of love. Actually, that's what the church titled him. And read his works for 6 years, day and night, slept with them, woke up with them, memorized them, and allowed myself to be deeply affected by all of the works on Christian classics ethereal library. Those are the writings of the saints and the church fathers. And so obviously Aquinas and Augustine are real important to me, but also Aristotle and Plato.
mm-hmm.
So what I did as an older man, as a younger man, I studied the Bible intently. As an older man, I started looking at Greek mythology because we're the Western culture,
Mm-hmm.
and the Greeks, they subsumed the Judaic teachings, and then there was the New Testament, and then the Arabians it translated Greek and Christian works into their culture, and they called them medicines for the soul.
Yeah.
So Ralph Bowers was a completely broken man. My sister disappeared when I was 13. I woke up at 16, devastated, knowing I wanted to be a poet, knowing I wanted to write about that experience, knowing that I wanted to be healed from that experience. And along with God, poetry has provided the order in the chaos of my life so that I could make some meaningful existence that I would be proud of.
Wow.
And that's what I've achieved. And a lot of that was vocationally through my work as a sexual abuse investigator with the Department of Social Services.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I needed to be something in this world for God, what he wanted me to be. And I had no idea what that was. So I had to give my free will over. So I gave my free will over to God. And that was the beginning of the rest of my life,
Wow.
which has been magnificent, in my opinion. So the sexuality piece.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I
What?
do have one poem called Meeting
Yeah, go ahead.
that is pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy sexuality. I try not to be pornographic in my poetry about it. There's an ecstasy that we arrive at physically and mentally through our sexuality. So it can be a divine sexuality. So I believe that my works are very respectful, but they do engage the muse in sexual activities. Now, in the olden times, a muse would not dare, a writer would not dare cross that bridge
Mm-hmm.
with the muse because she would play him. But I kind of just went a little license with that. So I hope the world will forgive me. I read the most recent Pulitzer Prize winner. I read his poetry, very, very good. Didn't really notice any sexuality in it. I'm a poet who has not been out in the MFA world, I've just been in my home taking care of my children, doing my work, and writing my poetry for healing. And so I will say that there is sexuality and references to sexuality in the book, but I in no way intended to be offensive at all.
Right. I mean, that's life though, right? I
Yes,
mean,
ma'am. That's part of
you
who
and
we are.
me are sitting here because of sexuality.
Yes, ma'am.
And our children are
And it can
sitting
be
here.
divine. It can
Yeah,
be absolutely glorious, and it can be
definitely.
horrible.
And you know,
And
and
so I myself am a victim.
mhm,
I and my sister was a victim.
mm,
One of the reasons why I became a sexual abuse investigator. And
mhm,
so I wanted to portray a sexuality that I felt was a healthy sexuality.
right.
And that was what I attempted to do.
Right. And that's important because, you know, I too was a victim and more than once. And you know,
Me too.
it's sad, but you know, it can be displayed in the wrong manner. And it
Absolutely.
should be out of the context, like you said, of love.
Yeah,
Love
absolutely.
for one another, and then you produce this child, this offspring that is out of the love that you have for one another, and that in itself is beautiful. Any other way, yeah, well, no, it's not, and
Got to
I
be
understand.
consensual.
Yeah,
Got to be
definitely,
consensual. Yes,
definitely, definitely. So
consenting adults.
yeah, definitely, definitely. And you know, I absolutely love what you've done with the
Thank
book
you.
and the website and everything. You know, tell me how you were changed by your own recognition of your book, but not only that, actually publishing it, and what did it do for you?
I will say this, Yaya. It's a self-publish.
Okay.
And I paid my whole way to this point. My dream would be that an editor would say to me, "My God, Ralph, this is pretty good stuff. You know, why don't we give you a stipend and all that sort of stuff? I don't need it, but that's typically what you read about, maybe. But maybe I'm the underdog. Maybe I'm the guy that comes out of nowhere, and oh my goodness, this guy gave his life to poetry. It's obvious that poetry is in him. It's a spirit that has surrounded him and used him to provide something in the world that will be meaningful for people. I'd like to be able to talk with people about the poetry, about the sexuality, about family dynamics, those sorts of things. So maybe eventually I'll have my own podcast. I think maybe that is what the publisher and I are working toward.
Hmm.
And I'll look and study other poets' formats and create one that I think would be meaningful and helpful. But let's understand, I have a degree in psychology. I've worked my whole life in the human services field, helping families. My whole bent is on wellness of being, collectively and individually. And the individual wellness is not easily arrived at in this world. But there are tools and there are keys. For me, Carl Jung, the
Yeah.
marital syzygy, coming to wholeness as an individual, marrying the male and female aspects of the self. This is the work that I did. This is the work that the poetry is emblematic of. I've also written a few religious songs that are kind of like hymns, which I was a little bit surprised about. And then I've written some really beautiful things about God, and I wrote some of them as a feminine personality, and I wrote some of them as a masculine personality. So in the book, you'll read poems that you would believe were written by a woman, because just like George Sands, I decided that I was going to utilize that in writing, that I would write both as a male and a female. And I think I've done it relatively successfully, I hope.
You know, it's beautiful that you can actually have that relationship with yourself and with the Most High Creator, that you understand that you do have a male and a feminine side. Because how do you relate to a female if you don't understand a female?
And
And I
also
think,
in the Jewish mysticism,
yeah,
God is both male and female. He's got a left and
yes.
right hand side.
Well,
And
I
so there
mean,
are attributes. So it's all attributable.
yeah.
And so that's what the Tao Te Ching is another book that looks at the male and female aspects of energy, of
Hmm.
reality, of life itself, of which we are a part.
Well, I
And
mean,
so a lot of
nature
studies,
itself.
a lot of studies.
Yeah, nature itself lends that, we are all male and female. If we are created in the image and likeness of the Most High Creator, then where does a female come from?
Wow.
I mean, if he is a he, then where's the she?
Yeah, God is dual.
Yeah,
I think it even we created. I think it says in Genesis.
yeah, it does, it
It,
does, and that's the thing that I think a lot of people miss is that, oh, so if it's just a he, then where do I come from?
it's that whole patriarchalization that happened in
Yeah,
the Greek time. There was
yeah,
another reasons why I wanted to go back to the Greek and study the Greek and study the female, so that she would be even more prominent in my works
I
than any
got you,
male,
and I
besides
appreciate
God,
it.
which is
Yeah,
yeah,
I
which is
appreciate that.
again,
We,
thank you.
as females, get overlooked a lot,
I
and
hope for my sister. I wrote this for my sister. I would have given every one of these poems to her, but I couldn't. My grandfather was a postman, so he delivered mail, rain, shine, you name it. So if there was a way to have delivered these to my sister, I would have done it. But every woman is my sister if she chooses to be, and I choose for that to be. So I have written this for a long time,
thank
and
you.
I hope it's appreciable. I hope it's not an insult. I hope I didn't make a mistake. I hope I wasn't blind in doing it.
Now, I'm speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for all women out there, but I love stories that are written, or love poetry that is written by a male, to understand and to help me to understand where the
Okay.
men are coming from. But it's even more intimate when a man understands where I'm coming from.
Well, I hope
I
so.
think that's sexy. I don't know. I don't know.
I
I'm
do
not
too.
going there. I'm not going into but I think that that is appealing. It's sexy. It's honorable, and it makes me feel like as if I've been heard.
So glad we've had this conversation.
Yeah, and I think that if anyone would take away, or a female would take away from this, I think that they would feel like as if they've been heard, and also empathize with you on the loss of your sister, because you said you would have given all of these poems, and it would have never probably been shared with
I
us.
probably would have never written them.
Exactly. Exactly.
So,
And so, unfortunately, I'm sorry about your sister.
beauty out of tragedy.
I mean, but yeah,
That's all we can
exactly.
do. We
That's
have
it.
to continue on, and we have to be victorious. Yeah, yeah.
That's it. That's it.
And that's what I've
Wow.
tried to achieve, victory.
Wow. Well, Ralph, man, I tell you, the book is beautiful. Let me go ahead and put it up here. Again, Consorting the Muse in her upstairs office. Mr. Bowers, is there anything that we've missed today that you'd like to say to the listeners?
I'm sure that there is, and I'm hoping that in time they'll be able to hear me until they say, "Turn Ralph off."
Well, I don't think so. Are you doing another book by any chance?
Actually, thank you so much. My second book is at Proofreaders. I've got about 4 or 5 poems in it that I'm going to pull out and put some other ones in. I've been reading Plath lately, and of course she had her laundry all over, and we've all talked about it. And I just want to be careful about my laundry. And I'm glad we were able to redo this, because I think I said some things last time that I would rather be guarded
Mhm.
in my personal life. But I can only tell the readers that in terms of tragedy, I know it real well. In terms of joy, I know it real well, and I like the joy better. And my brother always accuses me. You know how writers oftentimes they'll do like dark and light, hurtful and helpful. I took the dark and the hurtful out in most of my poems and just made them helpful. And he said, "Oh
I
my God,
like
there's no
that.
tension." I said, "Does there have to be?
Yeah, right? I
Let's
love
just
it.
go one way."
I absolutely love it. Well, Mr. Bowers, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And my gosh, it's just been such a pleasure having you on the show. And I
Me
can
too.
hear you. So let's hope that
I
everybody else can. And if at the sound of the
hope
voice,
so.
you want to say something about your poetry, or if you want to ask a question, or if you just want to compliment him or give him your condolences, whatever the case may be, do whatever you want to do in the comment section wherever you may be watching. And you can also go to the website. The website is workbookpress.site,
You're all welcome.
workbookpress.site. And I'll put that in the comment section or
Yeah.
in the description
Thank you
section
so
so
much.
you can find
Also,
it.
there's a review out in New York Magazine, March 14th, 2026, about consorting the Muse in her upstairs office, and it's a very favorable.
Nice, nice. Well, of
Yes.
course, if you took all the negativity out, it's got to be favorable, right?
All right. There you go.
Well, Mr. Bowers, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate it.
God
And
bless you.
I'm looking forward to the
Thank
next
you.
book and the next time
Yes,
you come
ma'am.
on. And
Gonna
I
be
got
soon.
this whole thing rigged up for you.
All right. Thank you so much.
No problem.
God
And thank
bless.
you guys so much for tuning in. Don't forget to dare to be different. And until next time, guys, bye. Thank you for watching.